Hello, today I just wanted to talk about how to work with different geometric constraints. And those are different from dimensional constraints. These will apply certain things to geometry, and this will only work on sketches. So this doesn't work once your object is 3D. So I'm going to start with drawing a couple lines here. Couple of those, and then I'll add a couple circles. Okay, I think that'll get us started. So going down the line, we have coincident. Coincident will line up two different, or put 2 points on top of one another. So for instance, if I click the endpoint of this line and the endpoint of this line, it moves it right over, so that way those points are lined up or on top of one another. It's really useful, especially if you're trying to connect stuff to one another, if you're trying to use the use constraint, pull stuff from a geometry and connect like the endpoint of an arc or an endpoint of a line to that, really useful. The next one is concentric. What concentric does is it lines up the points of two circles, so they're on top of one another. So it's pretty much like coincident, but it's with circles. So I can select 2 points and now they're concentric, so they share the same center point. The next one is parallel. Parallel is pretty much self-explanatory. It will make lines parallel to one another. It does not affect the length of the line. It will affect the location to make it line up. So if I click here and here, now the lines are parallel to one another. It tries to keep it in the same generic location. Notice it doesn't connect it. Obviously, that's definition of parallel. But it is useful when you're trying to put things in an angle and you really want them to line up. It saves a lot of headaches with dimensioning. Okay. So the next item is tangent. Tangent, like I explained in class, is basically putting the edge of an arc or circle against another arc or circle or a line. So for instance, I can click here and here, and it shrinks it down to make it match. I'll see if I can move it over here. Yeah, so it puts it right on the side there. Sometimes this can cause things to kind of shift the way you don't want them. If you do, simple undo will stop that. And then we'll see if we can move this over like that so it's a little closer. And then we'll put a tangent. There we go. So that way it expanded out to that instead of shrunk in. So useful tool. It also works with circle to circle. So if I do this here and I click tangent here to here. Yep, there we go. See, it'll kind of connect those circles and that'll help you make something if you need it. Next, 3 constraints kind of mix with one another, and that's horizontal, vertical, and perpendicular. So if you're making something, so let's try, I'll draw kind of a messed up square, a really messed up square. Okay, so I want this to be a square. Obviously, this is exaggeration of how messed up I drew it, but I can make those lines horizontal again by just clicking. And then I can make the other lines vertical by clicking on them. And it's kind of a good way to fix. Obviously, I did a major exaggeration, but sometimes when you're drawing a line, you don't 100% pay attention, and all of a sudden you're off by just a little bit and you don't realize it. So this can be really helpful for fixing that. So that's horizontal and vertical. Perpendicular basically just makes a line 90 degrees to one another. So let's see if I can get these lines to do it. Yeah. So this actually rotated to become 90 degrees to that line, if you can kind of visualize that. Let's see if I move that down. Yeah. Okay. So, and that works with connected lines as well. I'll admit perpendicular I use less than horizontal and vertical. I think horizontal and vertical are very useful. They're also very nice. So if you have a shape and you draw something like this and you want these 2 sides to be even with one another, horizontally, I can click horizontal and then click the endpoints, and that'll line them right up so they will remain the same height. Another way you can do this to kind of hop to the next segment is equal. Equal will make sides equal to each other, all different lines equal. It'll make circles equal. So if I choose, let's say this guy, now they're the equal size. And if I change the dimension on one of them, the other one will change. So if I click on this one and change it to 2, you can see it adjust there. And other stuff adjusted too, just because I have all sorts of constraints on it. It is also useful if you're trying to use like 2-point rectangle or the corner rectangle, which we already have a rectangle here. You want to make it a square. You just click sides that are perpendicular to one another. And now I only have to dimension one side and all 4 sides will be the same size. Okay, so that's also super helpful. And then the final one I'm going to go over, I'm going to kind of skip these guys. We don't really use them all that much, so I'm going to skip over it. But the final one I want to cover is fix. Fix is not something you'll use a lot, but when you need it, it's really nice to have. Fix will basically make a point stay where it is. So for instance, when I adjusted stuff, if I wanted to make sure this circle never moved, I could just click on the center. And now you see it turn black. That means it's fully constrained and it's locked into that place. So if I hit escape and I try to move stuff, see, I can shift that. I can move my square, but the circle, it won't move. Okay, so that helps kind of lock it into place. And if you do need to get rid of some of these constraints, wherever you placed them, and I'll try to find, so for instance, my tangent will show up and I can right click and delete. And I think I got rid of the right one. Oh, maybe I didn't. And now I can pull that line away because it's no longer tangent to that. So if you need to get rid of a constraint, you just kind of float over it. Like I can now delete the fix one, which means I can now move the circle again. So if you ever need to get rid of constraints, they're pretty easy to get rid of as well. It's just kind of float over them and find which one you need to get rid of. Okay, so that's the basics for geometric constraints. And I'll say again, this is for sketches only. Don't use this for 3D, or you can't use this for 3D. Okay, thank you for watching, and I hope this was helpful.